these black tokens being put in places of prestige to distract away from the fact that the government is marginalizing American Africans. Pay attention to the tokenism. Whenever you see a new token, whenever you see a new black penny amongst the white dollar bills, whenever you see a new black penny amongst the white dollar bills, whenever you see a new token, you know that they are distracting from something. See, Obama was the token that distracted from the Rainbow Nation takeover. Insane Obama was the token that distracted away from the Rainbow Nation takeover, the feminist takeover. Yes, whenever you see a black face in a high place, you are being distracted away from something. They made Thurgood Marshall the first black Supreme Court justice right after the long, hot summers of 1967. Thurgood Marshall, and I respect him, I'm not knocking him, but when they made him a Supreme Court justice, that was to distract away from the fact that they were not going to do anything to address the causes of the rebellions of 67 and 68. So you got black folks becoming presidents of PWIs. You got black folks becoming presidents of PWIs. Tokenism. Tokenism in place of addressing racism. February 18th, 1970, the Chicago Seven, including Bobby Seale, are acquitted of charges that they planned to incite a riot, but Bobby Seale is not released until 1972 due to contempt charges. They had our elder Bobby Seale gagged and bound in the courtroom. I said they had our brother Bobby Seale gagged and bound in the courtroom because Bobby Seale was unapologetically African. He would not shut up. He would not obey the process of jurisprudence. Bobby Seale said, "You are not going to lock me up with my participation." Shout out to Bobby Seale, who is still amongst the living. He is still out there teaching and educating and raising the consciousness of African people. April 17th to April 19th, 1970, the Bilderberg meeting is held in Switzerland. May 4th, 1970, the Ohio National Guard fires on anti-war demonstrators at Kent State University, killing 4 people. May the 4th, 1970, the Ohio National Guard fired on anti-war demonstrators at Kent State University, killing 4. May of 1970, the first issue of Essence magazine is released. And on August of 1970, the first issue of Black Enterprise is released. Tokenism, tokenism, tokenism. Now, I'm not attacking Essence or Black Enterprise. I'm not attacking Essence or Black Enterprise. What I am saying is you see all of this superficial progress with no real systemic progress. First black president of a white university. Black magazine Essence, Black magazine, Black Enterprise. But what are you doing about the economic and political reality of African people? And let me say this about Essence, Ebony, Black Enterprise. Let me say this about Essence, Ebony, Black Enterprise. You all be doing articles on me whenever there's some disrespectful, unnecessary issue to address. Why are national black magazines only covering Dr. Umar's work when there's some nonsense involved? Y'all will cover a fake wedding. Y'all will cover a beef with a YouTubian. Y'all will cover COINTELPRO. Y'all will do an article on irrelevant things. But you have never done an article on me and how I've saved more black boys than any psychologist in American history. You've never done an article on me of how I've empowered and educated more black parents towards saving their children from school to prison pipeline than any black person in the history of this country. You ain't done no article on me on how I educated our community about the evils of psychiatric medication and ADHD being the hustle and conduct disorder being a scam. Where are the articles on that? Where is the articles on the fact that I've raised more consciousness than any African living on the planet? Where's the articles on the fact that I'm the most requested scholar in the world? Where's the articles on the fact that I'm the only one of my generation building a major institution to serve the community? No articles on that in Black Enterprise. No articles on that in Essence. No articles on that in Atlanta Black Star. I'm calling y'all out to Atlanta Black Star, because for you to be named after the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, I take issue with the fact the only time I'm in that paper is when you're reporting nonsense, but you ain't did no article on the fact I'm the reason people know who the most honorable Marcus Garvey is. I brought back Garveyism, not you. I did it. Let's get back to the messages. On June the 28th, 1970, on June the 28th, 1970, the first major gay liberation day March is held in New York City. June 28th, 1970, the first major gay liberation day march, Rainbow Nation, held in New York City. So you see, Dr. King is murdered, and all these other so-called minorities swoop in to exploit the black civil rights movement for personal gain. Dr. King is murdered in less than 2 years. His body is not even resting yet, and the Rainbow Nation swoops in to exploit the black civil rights struggle for personal gain. August the 7th of 1970, 17-year-old Jonathan Jackson, ancestor Jonathan Jackson, 17 years old, younger brother of Soledad brother George Jackson and a bodyguard for Angela Davis, takes 3 concealed guns into a courtroom assisted by 3 comrades, and he took the judge, the deputy district attorney, and 3 jurors hostage with an intent to go to the radio station and demand the release of the Soledad brothers, including his big brother, George Jackson. He was shot and murdered inside the van along with 2 of his comrades. He was only 17 years old. He was only 17 years old. Jonathan Jackson was martyred in Leo season. Jonathan Jackson was 17 years old, and he went into a courtroom armed at 17 and took the judge, the DA, and the jurors hostage to demand the freedom of his brother and the Soledad brothers. He wasn't on YouTube making videos all day. He wasn't on YouTube making videos all day. That's right. That's right. He walked in the courtroom, took the judge and the DA and the jurors hostage. August the 7th, 1970. Rest in peace, Jonathan Jackson. Rest in paradise, Jonathan Jackson. Rest with the ancestors, Jonathan Jackson. August of 1970. The weapons used by Jonathan Jackson were registered to Angela Davis, who immediately went underground for 2 months before being arrested in New York City in October of 1970. After a year in jail, she would be acquitted of murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy in 1972. I stand in solidarity with the young Angela Davis. I stand in solidarity with the young Angela Davis. I stand in solidarity with the young Angela Davis. That's right. That's right. Those were her weapons that Jonathan Jackson took into the prison to liberate his brother. Those was Angela Davis's weapons that Jonathan Jackson took into the prison to liberate his brother. And Angela Davis never turned him in. She never turned him in because Jonathan was Angela's bodyguard. Jonathan Jackson was Angela's bodyguard at 17. Imagine 17-year-old brothers defending our revolutionary sisters. Imagine having 17-year-old brothers defending our revolutionary sisters. She went underground, went to jail, and was acquitted in 1972. Much respect to Angela Davis. I don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I might take issues with some of the things you do and say now, but you as a young sister, you is no doubt a hero of the Black liberation era. October the 15th, 1970, Anwar Sadat, the third president of an independent Egypt whose mother was a Black Sudanese, was assassinated. October the 15th, 1970, Anwar Sadat, third president of Egypt, whose mother was a Black Sudanese, was assassinated. And according to the late great master teacher Ivan Van Sertima, it was President Anwar Sadat of Egypt who said, "I'm the first Black pharaoh in 5,000 years." Anwar Sadat said, "I'm the first Black pharaoh in 5,000 years." Anwar Sadat, the third president of an independent Egypt, said, "I am the first pharaoh of Egypt, Black pharaoh in 5,000 years. Also in 1970, while his induction refusal case was on appeal, Muhammad Ali was able to get a boxing license in Georgia, as it was the only state without a boxing commission. Muhammad Ali would fight Jerry Quarry and win after 3 rounds. Also in 1970, 200,000 prisoners in the United States would swell to 2 million by 2020. There were only 200,000 prisoners in America in 1970. Mass incarceration is the new slavery. There were only 200,000 prisoners in America in 1970. Here we are 52 years later, and we now have 2 million. How do we go from 200,000 in 1970 to 2 million in the year 2020? And America incarcerates the largest population of prisoners in the entire world. America incarcerates the largest population of prisoners in the entire world. 1970, Rainbow Nation disrupts the American Psychological Association convention in San Francisco. It was a takeover. If you heard my podcast season 1, I broke this down. I'm not going to go into it. But in 1970, the Rainbow Nation disrupted the American Psychological Association convention in San Francisco. That's right. And y'all know what happened a few years later. They declassified same-sex relations as a mental illness. I'm the reason you know that it was a mental illness. Let me say that again. I'm the reason you know that same-sex relationships was considered a mental illness in the United States until 1973. 1970, Aretha Franklin publicly told Jet magazine she was going to use the money Black people gave her to set Angela Davis free. Rest in peace, Aretha Franklin. Great job, Jennifer Hudson. Rest in peace, Aretha Franklin. Great job, Jennifer Hudson. Rest in peace, Aretha Franklin. Great job, Jennifer Hudson. Aretha Franklin told Jet magazine, "I'm going to use the money that Black people gave, making me rich, and I'm going to set Angela Davis free." Why we don't hear Black rappers talking like that? Why we don't hear Black singers talking like that today? Aretha Franklin in 1970 stood up and said, "I'm going to use the money that Black people use to buy my records, and I'm going to set Angela Davis free." That's right, brothers and sisters. She offered to pay Angela Davis's bail, but Angela Davis was ineligible. Aretha Franklin offered to pay Angela Davis's bail. This is after Angela Davis was underground for a year. This was after Angela Davis was underground for a year. Queen Mother Aretha Franklin was going to pay her bail, but she was not eligible. Also in 1970, Josephine Hostin of Grenada becomes the first Black woman to win the Miss World pageant. Here we go with more tokens. Pay attention to the tokens. Pay attention to the tokens. Josephine Hostin of Grenada, first black woman to win Miss World pageant. We salute her. She's probably an ancestor now. We salute her. But this is tokenism. Pay attention to all the tokens that they give us in the 70s while they do nothing about the systemic injustice.